Sam F. Davis Day, Saturday, February the 8th at Tampa Bay Downs. I'm Gino Bacola here alongside my good friend Barry Spears, the sniper. We're getting ready to discuss 4 stakes races on Saturday at Tampa, and always an interesting stop on the road to the Derby, Barry, where we have the Sam F. Davis. This will lead us into the Tampa Bay Derby next month. So you'll see some very intriguing horses. This week, we'll have horses like Owen Almighty, Poster, probably a couple of the bigger names that will try to use this as a stepping stone to bigger prep races heading into the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, I mean, these races, this is a 50-point race? It's kind of wide open. I mean, usually this race is a little bit wide open or ripe for the taking or somebody to kind of step up. But, I think this year's rendition, everybody kind of looks the same. So it should be an interesting one.
Yeah, I think you can probably make cases from Treaty of Rome, John Hancock, Owen Almighty, Poster, Naughty Rascal as like the top tier. And then some of the others wouldn't even be that big of a shock to see a maiden horse like Camp Hale, who's actually run well, but still a maiden, finally get the first big victory. Dr. Ruben M. has run well against good company, exits a really strong race. That's going to be race number 11, the Sam F. Davis. Barry and I will look at the 4 stakes races, and there's not really like a sequence that connects them. So we'll just look at them individually, one at a time. So Barry, this weekend, focus will be out at Tampa. Before we get into anything, as we look at the DRF past performances, what did you guys look at, and what have you been up to with the notorious OTB?
Yeah, we did a $100 budget game on the Saturday card at Tampa. It's really interesting the way we went with it. It was kind of a difficult card because there's a mix of some really high-end maiden races with some low-end claimers. So definitely a challenge on the betting side, and hopefully we can score a few.
Okay, so we're going to look at the Pelican as the first of the stakes races. We'll be looking at races 5, 6, 9, and then race number 11, the Sam F. Davis. So we're looking at the daily racing form past performances. We encourage all of you to head to shop.drf.com for anything that you need. If you're looking at the races this weekend at Tampa Bay Downs, stakes previews from Dave Grenig, if you want to look at the articles, and then there's some of the races previewed this weekend on the YouTube channel. We'll get into it right here for you. So this race, Barry, what makes it a little bit tricky, it's the Pelican. This is a 4-year-old and up sprint. There's just not much early speed at all. You're just trying to find out who's even going to be on the lead. You've got Nutella Fella's one of the horses to beat. Grade 1 winner of the Hopeful last year, was 3rd in the Woody Stevens. Carmel Chip has been like a solid sprinter, but just not a lot of early speed for this guy either. And then you have the 6 Dreaming of Kona, who's kind of been in stakes company, but these horses aren't that quick early. I mean, the fastest early on is probably Silver Slugger. This horse was just beating 8,000 claimers last time out, so it's sort of tough. Like, maybe he's the fastest, but is he good enough to compete with a group like this?
Right. Yeah, that's really the question. I kind of thought that this is a real kind of tough race for the favorites here. A horse like Pure Class can get a really nice trip in the jump on both the 2 favorites, Caramel Chip and Nutella Fella. If that happens, and it could be curtains for those 2. Only because it would be like if you were running this race without the 3 Silver Slugger in it.
Yeah, and I think that's how I'm going to kind of treat it, because I don't think that horse is good enough to win, but he'll probably set the pace, and he may just give a little bit of a target for a couple of the others who want to sit behind him. I don't think there'll be any kind of contested pace that sets it up for the horses from behind. I thought the 5 and the 6 were the 2 interesting horses from a pace standpoint.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'd honestly take a flyer on the 3 just because of the pace.
I mean, and what's interesting is, like, the horse debuted in a stakes at Parks a few years back. So they obviously thought the horse at one point was good. And then he's had a bunch of physical issues along the way, long layoffs, right? So we know that he's not the same as he used to be, but can he get out front for 6 furlongs here, right? We're not asking is this horse going to be holding up for a whole year or anything like that. We're like, in this particular race, can he just really get a trip and outrun his odds? Like, nobody's scared. I know Nutella is a grade 1 winner. Doesn't terrify me or anything. That was one of those wins that might have been like early in the 2-year-old season. He was precocious. He doesn't have a whole lot of racing recently.
Well, I think shortening up isn't ideal either for that horse.
Great.
I think 7 furlongs are a little bit farther, like a mile, would suit Nutella a lot better.
So mainly I'm like you, is that I'm cold on the 2 and the 4. Just because I don't think they're going to get the trips. The horses who were definitely on my radar as finding ways to use them were the 3, 5, and 6. I wasn't sure how good the 3 is, but he certainly should get a trip in here. The 5, for the reasons that you were saying, he's going to go third, start off the bench. He can sit close, and then with Paco aboard and the possibility of him being forward in a race where there's not that much speed,
I would say, like, my personal opinion is that Paco's going to try to beat the 3 to the punch and just get to the lead and go with it from there. That way, it kind of, it forces Nutella maybe and maybe Caramel Trip to try to get involved slightly earlier. I think it would be easier for everybody, including the favorites, if Silver Slugger was on the lead. But I think Paco's going to try to jump the gate and get him.
So Dreaming of Kona comes back to the dirt, and look at some of his recent dirt form. It's really good. He's second in the Sir Shackleton in March earlier this year. He's only beaten a neck. He earns a 92 Beyer speed figure that day. Last year, he's running in the Mr. Prospector and in the Hooper, just against better horses there. Tumbarumba, Sibelius. Those are like legitimate graded stakes type horses. And, his overall work on the dirt is really not bad. I would love to see a race from him just between now and then. That's my major concern.
He hasn't run in a bit, and
no,
he's win challenged. He likes to finish second and third.
Yeah.
But
I like
this is a good race. Like, he could win this race.
It's a good spot for him. He fits with this group on class. It's just, will he get the trip? That what you pointed out at the beginning, what makes it a fun race to handicap and a little tricky is that you can poke big holes in the favorites right away. Yeah, with the way the race could shape up. Mm-hmm. With, the 2 and the 4 both just could get really tough trips. So pure class, the 3 Silver Slugger, the 6 for me, Little Dreaming of Kona. Those are the horses we're kind of looking to in here to beat Nutella and Caramel Chip. Anything else you want to hit on in the Pelican, my friend?
No, I think we covered it.
Yeah. We move to the Minaret, race number 6 here. And we'll see a couple nice fillies and mares in this one. We have the number 4, Nick Style, was supposed to run in that inside information race that you and I talked about a couple weeks ago with the Pegasus on Pegasus Day at Gulfstream, and scratched out of there and will now be here. And she's done very little wrong in her career. Ruthless Rua had a little bit of a trouble trip last time out. She was 4th. It was only a field of 4, but she got stuck down on the inside, and she just was in a bad spot. She never really got a shot, and she was only beaten a length there. Dazzling Blue is like a sharp horse who always shows up, but she's 0 for her last 7. I think to the outside, Muccia makes a lot of sense in here, Barry, just as like a lightly raced horse with some upside. We know she has a good ceiling. We saw her in the Prioress when she's 3rd there. We saw her in the Game Face, capable of big races. I want to show the trip a little bit because, so if you're just looking at the comment lines of the Raven Run, it says inside faded. And so if you're kind of just looking at that and reading that, you would think that, man, okay, she just really didn't fire that day. She lost to a nice horse named Emery, who we just saw finish well when it was in that inside information when finishing 2nd. So we're looking at the number 2 in here, Barry, and she's down towards the inside. Good start. So she's like right there with the group, but you can see there's like 4 horses to her outside that were showing speed. So she didn't want to go really fast to get stuck down on the rail and have all the pressure to her outside. But now she's in a tricky spot, right? Because she's got to make a decision. Okay, at this point, she's 3rd. And then, whoop, here you go. Grab a hold. All of a sudden, you lose your 2 lengths of positioning. You kind of lost that momentum that you had. Now you got to start over again. You're going to move back into contention again, and then there's just nowhere to go. That's not the easiest of trips for a horse who's in a tough race. Like right here again, she's just kind of in the race and just nowhere to go. She's in tight as horses come up around her, and she just backs up. I think this is an excuse race, Barry, and I kind of like her form overall. I like the fact she's drawn well. She's won at Tampa. And in this field, I think it's Nick Style and then everybody else. She feels like the playable horse to me in this race. Uh-oh, I think you might be muted.
I'm not sure. That's
Talk to
why
us.
I was muted.
There we go. There we go.
I'm not sure. She's just inconsistent enough for me not to really trust her in this spot.
And I
Because
hope that will make
feeling,
her. I hope that will make her an okay enough price to play.
Well, that was my thing. Is if she's below 9-2, no, thank you.
Yeah,
I
7-2 is mine.
That's possible. If she's higher than 9-2, then she kind of makes a lot more sense at that price rather than, like you said, 7-2 or 4-1. I'd like to see her higher than that.
For me, I think it comes down to that it's Nick Style, it's her, and I don't really love anybody else in the field. Talk to us about some of the horses that might be on your radar.
Yeah, I think Opus 42 might fall into a nice trip here. This horse likes that track quite a bit and runs good in these kind of races.
Certainly, Barn can get the horse ready off of a long layoff. You can just eliminate that last race because she followed that race with a long layoff. So something goes wrong there. And we've seen her previously at Tampa. She loves this course.
And we've seen horses like this, local type horses, win this race in particular. Power Squeeze, I believe, won this race. So it's kind of ripe because of the timing of this race, where you could get somebody that's good like Nick Style. You could get this horse beat in this race. There's a lot of speed in here. Dazzling Blue has a lot of zip. I don't think that horse is going to let the favorite get away, and I really don't think Mucci is going to let the favorite get too far away either. So there's a chance that this pace gets a little bit hot, and that's when I think Rulers Rua could actually capitalize on that. This horse has been knocking on the door. I think this is a good shot to kind of turn the tables on Dazzling Blue.
She just got a really tough trip. We can watch a bit of it. It's in a 4-horse field, so the dynamics in races like that are really different. She's a 3 in here, and you can just see this is not the spot you want to be in.
Not in this kind of race, no.
in this field, because you're just stuck. She's just at the mercy all the way around of everybody else.
Just chasing.
Yeah. She's got no, like right here. She tries to go in between. There's no room, and then she has to kind of alter down to the inside. That's just like the difference between winning and losing, when she just never got an opportunity to get through here, not beaten a lot at all down there. This is just like didn't get a chance here. I have her picked 3rd. I think she's a major player in here. Yep.
Yeah. I think she gets a way better setup than last time, and has enough speed to be close.
Yeah, she should be close throughout.
Finish. Yeah, I mean 6-1 on this horse is excellent.
It's the Minaret, race number 6 on Saturday at Tampa Bay Downs. Let's move to race number 9. This one is the Sun Coast. So you'll have the 3-year-old fillies in here going 1 mile and 40 yards. Let's talk about some of the major players. You have, when I see this horse, I want to, her hair, her laugh. I want to sing it. As, when I see her face, she's one of the horses to beat it here, no doubt, for a barn that's got a couple really nice fillies right now. You've got Lacara, the proven horse. She's the Pocahontas winner. She was in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. I actually liked her in that race. I think she was my top pick in there because going into the race, she had shown a little bit of versatility, which I liked. She had shown speed. She'd shown the ability to come from off the pace, and she just didn't fire at all in the Breeders' Cup. But you can be forgiving when horses don't fire in the big races like that. You've got Chloe to the outside. who was very impressive winning the debut, but that was going 5.5 on the synthetic, now has to stretch out to a mile on the dirt, certainly has some speed there. Those are probably I think a couple of the horses that'll take money as well as Italian Soiree for sure. So like major players in here in that first tier. Talk to us about some of the horses you like here.
Yeah, this is kind of a difficult race, even though I do think one horse kind of stands out class-wise in Lacara.
She's the proven horse, but this is the starting point for this year, right? Is she ready to get back to the best that we saw from her last year?
Yeah, I think she should handle this field. I mean, on paper, she kind of lays over this field, I think. I mean, just the experience over Chloe kind of puts that one away. And then, her laugh had a really super slow trip at the fairgrounds in the Untappable. And Italian Soiree is questionable whether that horse is really a turf horse or not. And Dancing Magic has to prove class-wise. So there's some questions there with the others. But man, Lacara looks really good in this spot.
Well, yeah, I liked her going into the Breeders' Cup. And I mean, even look at some of the horses that she's faced throughout her career. Eclatant, who we saw last week, come back and win really nicely at Gulfstream Park. Vodka with the Twist, who ran well in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, was second that day. So she's faced really nice company throughout. I'll talk a little more about Italian Soiree just because I think she's for me, the interesting horse in here if she's around this price, because we saw her debut. It's nice. She wins sprinting on the dirt. She comes back in her second start. She loses to the Queen's MG. Queen's MG surprises that day. She's like solid. She's like a solid graded stakes horse. She's a sprinter. So I don't really have a problem with her losing that race. Then she comes back. And honestly, when you go through every horse that's finished in front of her, I think they're just better horses. She loses to Nitrogen. We saw Nitrogen come back and win the Ginger Brew, in early January. She loses to Vixen. Vixen comes back and wins the Sweetest Chant. So at Gulfstream Park, both of these horses came back and win Gulfstream Stakes early on. And one more time, obviously a solid horse who won the Natalma there. So those three are nice. There were two next out winners in this race. And then following that, she's in against a horse that you picked right on top, Mayday Ready, when she won this race over at Keeneland. Mayday Ready, totally justified winning the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies turf. Destino Dioro, I like this horse a lot. I've been waiting for her to come back. She had a trouble trip that day. She just missed. And Micaiah, they were the top 4 betting choices in that race. And she finished 5th. When you really go through all of the horses who she's been behind, it's not like she has bad form. I really just think she's lost to some horses that are better than her. This isn't a bad spot for her class-wise, kind of like what we were talking about with Lacara. Lacara has proven herself the most. Italian Soiree has kept really nice company as well. Not exactly sure if she's a turf or a dirt horse, but she has proven herself on dirt. I kind of like I like this group. I'm fine with her getting a little bit of time off, the blinkers on, the bench, everything. The key with her is price also. If she's this price, I think that's fair. I don't want to take her and Pratt at 5-2 or lower, anything like that. But 7-2 and the third choice in this race, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I just have a feeling this horse is just a turf horse. And they want to try to get on the Oaks trail, I guess.
She's bred beautifully for the grass, right? And that's the thing. It's not even like she didn't run poorly in those grass races.
Didn't. She didn't.
So it's not like, let's get her back to the dirt because she was bad on the grass. She just ran into some nice horses. As you're pointing out, this is the time again to take another shot.
Mm-hmm.
Early in the year.
I don't blame him for taking a shot on the dirt, but
yeah,
I don't know. It just depends on the price. I think 7-2 is probably appropriate. But that's a real decision,
and the way he rode there last week, he won 4 of his 5 mounts. Yeah. I think and he'll certainly get bet. Sounds like we're both a little cold on her laugh though.
Yeah. I think that horse got a really sweet trip.
I was disappointed with that race too, because we kind of were expecting more from some of the fillies in there, right? Like Golden Gamble just didn't really fire.
A lot of them just didn't do anything.
We didn't see like speed from a couple of the others who had shown a little bit of speed before too. So if she wins, she's gonna, I think, need to step up a little bit to beat this group. And yeah, I couldn't quite get there.
I
What do we
honestly
do?
thought the 5 would be the pace here.
Yeah, I was gonna say the 5 and the 8 are the kind of two horses who ran well in their debut, but now we're asking a lot of them in this second start to face Tupper Company, step up. Junta at least was here at Tampa, but got a really nice trip that day. And then you have to the outside. I said Chloe. You went Chloe. Is it Chloe?
I don't know. I have no
Me
idea.
neither. Yeah. Uh,
It could be both.
yeah. The 8 is a safer way of saying it. The 8. So I think that's where you would get the speed maybe between those two. If one of the two goes and the other one sits, they could get a beneficial trip. But I don't think her laugh wants to be too far out of it.
No, I don't think so. Arad's not going to let him get too far away.
So the versatility of a horse like Lucara could really come in key. I'm higher on Italian Soiree than Barry is in here. The 2 is one of those horses like I like the plan that they had last time out. They just took back, they settled, they made one late run. She didn't really have a running style because her win came going 4.5 furlongs. So when horses win, it's in those situations, we don't know what their running style is because everybody has to show speed in those races. I think they've at least figured out something that works for her last time out. So I like that they could have a game plan with her. I could at least see her picking up pieces, but I guess the one horse was the other that I like what the one has done in her last 2 starts and the progression we've seen from her. Those would be the horses I would use as a price in like bottom of stuff if you're trying to hook Lucara up with some prices.
Yeah, I'd say the 1 has got some upside.
Yeah. Saves the ground. Distance, no problem for her. Should be in a nice spot. And when you see horses progress like that, in a couple starts, I think one more step forward would really put her right in the mix. So maybe Delorraine as a fun price horse to include underneath. They'll all have to be Lucara in the Suncoast. Let's move to the Sam F. Davis. Race number 11. We've got some Derby points on the line here. And I thought a really challenging group, honestly. You can start with Owen Almighty because he makes sense. He was second in the Iroquois last year. He's crossed the wire first 3 of his 4 races. He got DQ'd in the Pasco there, but very solid. Poster, 3 for 3. His first start on the dirt. He wins the Remsen. So obvious, logical horse. Naughty Rascal. It's kind of the solid, proven horse. He was put up via DQ. So he was never going to win that race the way it was shaping. But he was sort of the when Owen Almighty came over on the horse that was part of the disqualification, it kind of put Naughty Rascal in a tough spot because he had to go early and try to put pressure on Owen Almighty to make sure that horse didn't get a lone lead. And I think it just softened Naughty Rascal up a little bit there. Top contenders, John Hancock. That was a really nice debut win at Tampa for Brad Cox. And then you even have Treaty of Rome, Barry, who was second behind Guns Loaded in the Mucho Macho Man. And that was a race that had no speed on paper. Guns Loaded got a great trip, and Treaty of Rome almost ran him down. So I think there's a lot of ways you could go in this race.
Yeah, I think that upgrades Treaty of Rome quite a bit.
Me too.
Was the trip that that horse got. Guns Loaded, I was really annoyed with that whole race and how Guns Loaded got such an easy lead, but Treaty of Rome ran really, really good, almost ran him down. And I think that serves this horse well coming into this race. Poster is interesting because the connections keep saying that the horse missed some time, which you usually don't hear a whole lot of. So it sounds like this is a prep for the Tampa Bay Derby more than it is a race they're trying to win.
Looks like between January 3rd, January 18th, we didn't have what would have been at least one more work in there, probably on the 10th. So maybe there was like a 2-week spurt there where the horse got a little bit behind and maybe not going into this race quite as sharp as they would like, but hasn't done a whole lot wrong.
No, I mean, it's just a matter of what kind of pace
How
is in
ready are
front
they?
of,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And how ready are they now?
right. And I tend to think that this horse is going to need one.
I think
You
so
know,
too.
just from what they're saying and how this race is shaping up, I want to try to fade a horse like that. That's probably going to take some money.
Now, and I know that like Pratt will ride more for a barn like Brad Cox and stuff. I just don't think it's great that he rode
He
this horse
left
to a graded stakes win, right? Like
and
normally
left.
when you're in a situation like that where this is the more proven horse, you're going to probably stay with that one, even if it is for a barn that you don't ride for as much, because this could be a Derby horse for you, right? But he doesn't really feel that way. He gets off of Poster and he's aboard the 3 John Hancock.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think that because of who he is and how he rides, that he understands pace
He
better than
knows. He
most.
knows as
Right.
well as
That
anybody. Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. So he may think that, you know, this horse has much more ability.
Upside. Yeah, or just upside, right? Like,
Right, especially going forward. So it makes sense.
yep.
The outside 2 horses are really interesting to me, though, especially Smoking Boy. I mean, this horse could be any kind,
It's just such
and
a wild card coming in
a-
from Camarero, right?
and this race really is ripe for something weird to happen because there's
There's
nobody
no
that really
monsters.
stands out where
No.
you're like, oh, well, that's definitely the horse to beat. Um, I mean, Owen Almighty kind of fits that bill, but
He's
he
solid.
doesn't look overwhelming here or you know, like a 2 to 5 in this spot by
Nope.
any means. So those 2 horses, the 2 outside horses, really look interesting, especially if the pace heats up. Um, but Smoking Boy really interests me quite a bit.
Total wild card to blinkers coming on for Jose D'Angelo. Very bold, was moving late in the Pasco, picking up some late pieces there. You know, you kind of started with him. I think it's a really nice spot for Treaty of Rome, that the progression for him right here. Chad Brown uses these Tampa races a lot to get some of the horses ready. I think there might be like this horses that he likes, but are just kind of progressing nicely. You don't have to completely throw them to the wolves against maybe a little bit of the better horses or the maybe the more like farther along horses at Gulfstream Park right now in a race like the Fountain of Youth. I just think he's going to get a really good trip. Saving ground down on the inside, should have every opportunity there.
6 to 1 seems high.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I do.
I think he's going to be really vying for favoritism when it's all said and done.
It wouldn't shock me. I think there will be a few horses in that range, like along with the 2, the 3. Owen Almighty is going to take some money. I wouldn't even be shocked if Poster does too, like it all kind of in the same range ish. But yeah, I agree with you. I think he gets bet a little bit, but he fits. He looks like he's in a really nice spot here. I don't have any knocks on John Hancock. I think maybe an interesting price horse for me would be Dr. Ruben M. Just because the race he's coming out of has been so good so far. He was 4th in that race, but again, the winner, Cole Battle, came out of it to win the Smarty Jones. He won that race by 4 lengths. And the runner-up, Speed King, he came back to win the Southwest, and he earned a 93 Beyer speed figure. So being 4th in that race behind a winner and a runner-up that came back to run those races, really not bad. The 3rd place finisher, Dominant Spirit, came back, was 3rd in his next start against the non-winners of 2 group. But I wouldn't be shocked to see him at least be able to compete with this group on class after facing that group. And he faced Getaway Car and Emerald Bay, some Baffert horses who were just a little farther along early on in his career. I think there's something here with Dr. Ruben M. You know,
Absolutely.
when you look at the overall body of work, and he could be a really nice price in here, especially for like a try type horse.
I mean, really, the gamble is whether you think this horse can settle.
Just settle a little bit,
Right. Yeah. If this horse can settle a little bit, he might be tough in this spot, because I think that was the plan in the Springboard Mile, and they just got hung out wide and had to kind of use, you know, Edwin had to kind of use the horse a little bit more than he probably wanted to.
Yep.
And just kind of got out kicked. But this is a much better spot and a much better price for us, you know?
Totally agree. Dr. Ruben M could be a fun price horse there. So, I mean, like, Naughty Rascal is pretty cool. He's just
Nice horse.
like a fun, honest horse. As we start to get a little longer and in these races against the better groups, I wonder if he gets outclassed a little bit.
Yeah, and
Like,
I don't know if he really wants to kind of go beyond a mile anyway.
yeah, he could be one of those horses that's like a fun up to a mile horse that I could play this horse in some of those 3-year-old sprint races or like the Pat Day Mile, and he could be a horse that's a little under the radar in those races, right?
Sure.
Like I could see him because his speed figures aren't as overwhelming and he kind of gets dismissed a little bit. But I think those will be good spots for him. I worry about him going a little bit longer in a group like this. But Barry gives you a couple prices to the outside, Smoking Boy and Very Bold, some endorsement there. I think a fun price could be Dr. Ruben M. We both agree that the 2 Treaty of Rome, major player in here. If you could get 4 to 1 ish and above, that's probably a really good price on him.
Yes, sir.
Barry, my friend, a little quicker show for us today because we had those 4 stakes races to hit on over at Tampa. And then next week, I believe, we'll head over, I think it's Fairgrounds next week that has the Risen Star and their big next round of races. So just kind of looking at the calendar, which I love doing at this time of the year because it's so fun when you see like, oh, wow, that's the next weekend and then that one and then that one. So we've got this weekend, Tampa is the focus. They have their 4 stakes races. They have the Sam F. Davis. Then next weekend, February the 15th, we'll have Fairgrounds with the Risen Star and all their races, the Rachel Alexandra. That'll be a lot of fun. Following that, we head to Oaklawn for the Rebel for their next prep race. And that's on the 22nd of February. But the weekend after that is that big one, March 1st. That's when we get the Gotham, 4 stakes races at Aqueduct. We get Gulfstream Park, the Fountain of Youth, and a huge day at Gulfstream. I think there's 8 stakes races on Fountain of Youth Day. That's also the same day as the Big Cap and the San Felipe at Santa Anita. So that March 1st day,
huge,
in less than a month from now, is going to be a massive day of racing with huge days at Santa Anita, Gulfstream Park, and Aqueduct. 3 big preps. We'll have 4 preps between now and then with 5 if you count this weekend, and then next weekend with Fairgrounds, and then the 3 then. So, man, within the next 1 month, a lot is going to take shape on this Derby point standing list.
Yeah, man. Gotta love this game.
This is when we start to really like make it or break it time. And as you and I say goodbye, I know you're a big basketball fan like me. I got to hop in my step right now, my friend.
Lakers
fan. We got Laker Luka. I got Big Willie, Mark Williams. I'm going to be screaming, Big Willie, get in there. I think win or lose, whatever happens with the Lakers moving forward, the rest of this year, they did a fantastic job of setting themselves up really well for the future. You got Luka, Mark Williams, and like Austin Reeves as kind of the 3 guys you can build around, like your core moving forward. And they're all young. And they kind of complement each other well. And you can see LeBron had he's a little rejuvenated now. This is going to help him not have to handle the ball as much. And you played basketball professionally overseas. You played at a really high level. In my opinion, just the things that Luka will be able to pick up from LeBron about conditioning and just how to handle yourself and how to be like a pro and a real leader and maybe some workout tips here and there and some recovery stuff. I think those are the kinds of things that he'll really be able to pick up from LeBron.
Yeah, I think that'll tie everything together. Obviously Luka has all the pieces to be great, and he has been great. But this, tightening up with his work ethic and all that other stuff, and getting hungry and being able to be a leader is probably the only thing he's missing, and he can definitely learn that from LeBron.
And you got a little bit of a chip on the shoulder now too, right? When they traded you, it wasn't like you asked to leave. This team that you thought you were going to be the face of their franchise forever, they shipped you off. Then they badmouth you as like a breakup.
On the way out,
right? On the way out. So if there was ever any motivation needed for a guy like that who already led a team to the finals last year, he's got a little bit more motivation. So looking forward to seeing how that plays out over the next few months in the NBA season. But folks, we always appreciate hanging out with you here. If you're on the YouTube channel, if you can subscribe, below. That way, anytime we do videos like this, you will get alerted. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let us know. Do you agree with some of our selections in these races? Do you think a little differently? Did we miss something and you want to lead us to a horse or two? Best of luck. Barry will be listening to you on the Notorious OTB. Loved watching Ken back with you guys a couple
Mr.
weeks. Was it
Rudolph.
last week or 2 weeks ago? Last week.
It was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Pegasus Day, right? Yeah. Awesome. He was one of my favorites. Loved working with Ken. We did handicapping together at the very beginning.
Yeah.
He helped me, told them, Gino's my guy. I want him working with me. And that way they set me to do that schedule and made sure I was out there each weekend. So always loved Ken because he helped me out in that department. It was great to see him with you guys. Everyone, have a fantastic weekend. Good luck over at Tampa Bay Downs. Joey Cleveland, take it away, my friend.